Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh and I'm your host. Always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast, the impact it has, the people it reaches. I started it as a passion project. I started it as just something I wanted to share with the universe, and maybe one episode every couple of months. Now I do 2 a week. I love it. It's my way of giving back. The weekly messages I receive about this podcast and the people it reaches, and the fact that people feel like we're talking to them directly, it just lifts my soul. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. If this episode resonates, please do like, share, comment. I am an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. And what I get to do is I get to hold people's space. I guide you to who you really are, reducing and removing the layers that we go through when we go through this human experience, and really understand why you're put on this planet. I love what I get to do. After spending many years in the corporate space, I love what I get to do. So thank you, thank you, thank you. As part of this podcast, I get to interview some amazing guests. I'm excited to have Sarah with me today. I met Sarah recently at the Business Ascension Awards, and actually she was an award winner, and we had a great connection, and I'm excited to have her here today to talk about what she does, who she is, and how she shines a light. Sarah, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your podcast. So I am Sarah Seed. I am a purpose mentor, and I also call myself a purpose activator. I feel that having a purpose in life is so important. I work very specifically with highly sensitive people, especially highly sensitive women, on helping them really understand what their purpose is. So I help them get crystal clear clarity on what that purpose is, help them to really own their gifts and be confident with their gifts, and create and sustain a beautiful, vibrant, purposeful life and business as a sensitive, empathic soul.
I love it. I love it. So I was just, and we'll talk about purpose and kind of my take on it in a bit, but I'm just, I always love just talking about the current energy. I feel like we're all going through this shift. I feel like, we went through a shift which was very internal. I feel like this shift is more about kind of more external, standing in our power, using our light, using our voice. But I'm just curious, what are you finding with the people you're working with the people you connect with? What are you feeling about this current energy?
Yeah, there definitely is a lot of energy around us. I think there's a lot of uncertainty. I think there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, but I also think that as a collective, there's a lot of people that are waking up to something more, that are done with the traditional way of doing things, and their soul is aching for something more. So lots of people that I speak to are just feeling that surely there's got to be more than this 9 till 5 Groundhog Day existence. And a lot of people are waking up to that, and waking up to actually their soul is guiding them, and listen to those whispers before they become screams.
Yeah, I love it. I always say universe gives us nudges, then it gives us shoves, gives us kicks, and then they
Yes.
become really big kicks, right? So tell us about your tell us about your journey in kind of what made you this spiritual, and for those that are watching on YouTube, Sarah's having the normal technical challenges where her laptop's about to die and she's plugging it in, but we're all human. And as I always say, no, it's fine. There's nothing is scripted, nothing's edited, so that is perfect proof. But tell us about your journey and kind of what's brought you to this version of you. As
Yeah.
much, whatever you want to tell us that's in your heart.
Yeah, of course. What a journey. So I woke up around 13 years ago. That started with actually reading the book called The Secret. I was very
Nice.
unhappy at the time. I had 2 beautiful children, but I was in an unhappy relationship, and I felt like I was dying inside.
Hmm.
And The Secret kind of woke me up to there's got to be more. There's more than this. There's more than just this existence. So that's, I guess, where my journey started. However, for me, it goes right back. So when you think about, the generational um, impact that life has on you. My mum and my dad were actually part of a cult here in the UK. So I was actually raised in a cult and got married into the cult at the age of
Mm.
19. And I remember walking down the aisle at the age of 19 thinking my life was over, not thinking this is the best day of my life, actually walking down thinking my life is over. And I guess that was the start of kind of understanding that I was doing life for other people and not for myself. It took a few years for me to actually leave that. But when you leave that, you leave with nothing. So you literally are shunned by the whole community, which is what happened to me. So from there, I guess I just reacted to life. I
Mm.
just went along with whatever life threw at me, got into relationships, got into situations, and not really fully being aware of my decisions, who I was, what I truly wanted. So then, like I say, it took that sitting there thinking I'm not happy, reading The Secret and understanding maybe there's a different way. Maybe there's a different
Mm.
way of living, and taking back a little bit of control and thinking, what can I do, and how can I choose to live? I think that for me was probably the start of the awakening. And for the next couple of years, it was not a lot of people talk about this, but for me, it was quite brutal, that awakening.
Mm.
It
Oh,
wasn't,
it's
it wasn't
definitely.
peaceful.
Yeah.
It
Well,
wasn't
it's yeah.
the
Well,
experience.
well, that's why they call it Dark Night of the Soul, right? It is a. It's releasing all the layers of who you are. So definitely
Yeah,
brutal.
yeah. For me, that was pretty brutal. And then I went through another dark night of the soul, sort of 7 years later as well, which, a lot of people talk about this sort of seven
Yeah.
years on.
Mm.
So yeah, there's been a few dark nights of the soul. There's been some very big, tough, courageous, brave decisions that I've had to make over the years. But I know that it leads you on the path you're meant to be. It leads you to
Mm.
exactly where your soul um, is telling you that you need to go.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. So it's interesting. I have interviewed. I've spoken to quite a few. People who grew up in cults, growing up in. I think you were the first person from the UK. So, do you feel like? How do you feel about going through that as a soul? Because I feel like our soul picks this journey, the bigger events. The what religion, etc. We're born into. So, how do you feel at a soul level about what you had to go through?
Yes, I think for me, I didn't understand that for many
Sure,
years.
of course,
And
yeah,
I was massively in what I often say to people is kind of like a victim mentality. I felt a lot of self pity. I felt quite sad and angry and grieved for many years. Why has this happened to me and this isn't fair? And I think it took the awakening. And also, I remember reading a book that explained this about soul contracts.
sure.
And
Mm,
for me, that the peace that came over me when I read that, I knew that that was source telling
beautiful.
me
Mm,
that this
mm,
is exactly what happened. So I truly believe that. I believe that my soul, before it came to this earth, chose my parents
yeah.
and chose that as my contract. I believe everybody I meet, relationships, my beautiful children, they're all a soul contract. And for me, that's been really helpful in coming to peace
Mm,
happened and accepting that my parents are on their own soul contract, and they have got their own decisions
yeah.
to make in life. So yeah, that was a massive turning point for me, where I feel very much at peace with it now. I've done a lot of forgiveness work. I've come to peace with not having my parents as part of my life for the last 27 years.
Oh
Um,
wow. Mm,
yeah, and I'm just at peace with the whole process, because without that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now.
yeah.
In fact, I'd
Totally.
probably be a very
Mm,
different person. But
Mm,
actually, it taught me a lot. It's taught me a lot about love and unconditional love. That's what it's taught me. It's taught me what unconditional love is, because I had only ever known conditional love. And
nice.
so I've had to learn how to unconditionally love myself, unconditionally love my children, unconditionally love people, because I was never taught how to do that.
Wow. Because when somebody's going through something and it's intense, and they hear someone like me saying, "Well, everything that's happening in your world is happening for you, and your soul picked this." And when you're in it, I find people really struggle with that concept, because if you're going through something really intense, why would your soul pick it? And
Yeah.
I always encourage people to look at, what are you growing from what you're going through, because that normally gives you a clue, right? As you say, you're this version of you because of everything you've been through, right? So I'm curious, are your kids still in your world? Do you have
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah. So my children, that was somebody that I met 10 years after leaving the cult,
Mm.
um, when I had my children. And
Oh,
yeah,
beautiful. Okay. Mm.
yeah, they're doing really well. I've got a 15-year-old and I've got a almost 18-year-old who's
Oh,
going to
wow.
very soon. So yeah, we're very close, and there's been struggles, because
Sure.
teenagers
Uh,
bring struggles, their own struggles. But yeah, we're a very close knit family.
oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I wasn't sure actually whether they were born in the cult or whether they were born afterwards. So that's beautiful, though. It's beautiful. So
Hmm.
let's jump into what you do. I get the one of the questions I get the most often, when because I read Akashic records and mentoring, is I really need to understand my purpose. I need to, it's like, and I kind of always smile, because one, what makes us think we only have one purpose, right? This is just
Hmm.
like, and two, I feel like, we kind of sometimes wait for this big epiphany. It's like this big flash in the sky. Oh my God, when I understand my purpose, everything will fit in place. And life doesn't necessarily always work that way, right? So for me, I'll say, you know what, my purpose is that anyone I connect with, I want to leave them better than I found them. That allows me to do anything I want. I can do podcasting, I can do public speaking, I can do running retreats, I can be a judge at the Business Ascension Awards, whatever I want to do. I can go and spend a month in Bali and just work from there. Whatever I want to do, it fits into my purpose, right? So I I, I kind of guide people to being present on their journey, because right now I feel like, you know, the past is a great teacher, but if we spend too much time there, it kind of restricts us. It restricts us to the old version. And if we focus too much on the future, then how much control do we really have right now, right? If you look at the last few years, and I feel the powers in the present. But I'm curious, what's your so when I talk about, people stress about their purpose and are waiting for this big epiphany, how does that? How do you respond to that? How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I love this question. So I always feel that our purpose needs to start with ourselves.
Yeah.
So often when somebody comes to me and they are feeling lost, or they're feeling stuck, or they're really struggling in life, or they're going through their own dark night of the soul, or maybe they're having anxiety or depression, or however it manifests for ourselves, my first point of call, I guess, is always to direct them back to themselves and to make themselves their purpose. I know for me, that was my journey. I had to heal, I had to grow, I had to learn, I had to let go of all the onion layers that weren't me. And I
Hmm.
made myself my purpose. And I truly believe that when you make yourself your purpose, instead of being pulled in every direction and making life about everybody else, which is so easy to do, especially as a highly sensitive. We often fall into people pleasing patterns. We struggle to even know who we are and what we want. To actually choose yourself amidst all of that and make yourself your purpose is incredibly powerful. And for me, what happened was when I did that, purpose revealed itself. My
Hmm.
soul's purpose revealed itself in the process. And when I work with women in the academy, that's what we do. We focus them in on them first, and doing all of that work and peeling back the onion layers of everything that's not them, because purpose will reveal itself. I do also feel that there is a way of discovering your true soul's purpose, and I've created a modality. It's called the Soul Purpose Code, and it's kind of my own take on really identifying what your purpose truly is. So I feel like each one of us has a unique soul's purpose. And like you say, that could be to leave everybody better than you found them. It could
Mm.
be that you're here to create a certain impact, or you want to leave a certain legacy. But I feel that our soul is calling us all to do something, and to have some kind of mission or purpose in our life, even if that is to have a beautiful life.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
what would that take to have that beautiful life? I feel like all of us have a calling, and it's about choosing to listen to what that is.
yeah. No, I kind of agree. Starting with self, right? It's that self care. It's getting to know this version of you. It's like we've changed so much over the past few years, and sometimes we compare ourselves to an old version. You know, when we start judging ourselves, we're not really judging this version because this version has done a lot of work. I
Yeah.
just released an episode on how you sometimes your story. I forget what I called it, but sometimes your story holds you back. And
Mm,
you know, I just feel like if we can be present in this moment, that's where, and we start to fall in love with ourselves. That's where we start to understand ourselves.
yes.
You know, I mean, I like I said, I spent 30 years in the corporate world, and you know, for many of them, I felt that was my purpose, right? I mean, I went through
Mhm.
multiple, you know, dark nights of the soul, my own awakening, that journey, and but you know, there was a large part of the corporate world. I loved it. You know, it was what I felt I was here to do. I was creating teams. I was meeting amazing people, and but yeah, there was a point where that was an old life. I didn't fit into that life anymore, and it's just my purpose shifted, and what I'm here to do shifted. So it's just yeah, it's just interesting how the universe guides us and gives us what we need um, in its own unique way. You know, when we need it most. And I do feel like I said at the beginning, I feel like a lot of us are awakening in a different sort of way. And I think you said something similar. So,
Mm. Mhm.
what's what pro? I mean, can you share anything about the process that you take people through?
Yeah, of course. I just want to also just mention what you said about our work, because I think it's all connected. I find
Mm,
it really fascinating that whatever we've done, like I always think the jobs that we're in aren't in our way, they're on our way. And often
100%.
we can get frustrated though if we feel stuck in a job, or we feel stuck in a situation. But I always say to people, well, that's on your way to your purpose. And we can't
Mm,
connect the dots looking forward, but we can connect them looking backwards. And when I
mm.
think about the jobs I had, I was in corporate for many, many years. Um, and I worked for an estate agency, and I worked my way up in the estate agency and loved it. But I ended up being the trainer for the whole of the UK and going up and down the country, presenting, training. And now I can see how connected that was to what I do, because
Mm,
what I do is actually speaking, having to present things on slides and all those things, putting things together. I can see that that was all part of the soul's journey.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I just think it's really beautiful what you've said about that, that actually sometimes just to let go of the frustration of where we might be,
yeah,
know that it's actually going to lead us to where we're meant to be.
yeah. I mean, even the last few, I mean, just to finish that part, even the last few years of my corporate career, I just saw it as a way of funding my dreams.
Yes.
You know, just you know, it's acceptance that you're exactly where you're meant to be. From that place, you can then move on. And I'm the same. You know, 30 years of managing people, building teams, and
Mhm.
now I do a lot of spiritual mentoring, and it may be in a different space, but
Yeah.
there's still a lot of skills I learned in the corporate space that I use today. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
to go back to that question, I'd love for you to share. You know, how do you guide people to truly understand who they are?
So I have created an academy called Her Soul Purpose Academy. and it's a 12-month container. I truly believe that transformation, even though transformation can happen very quickly with an insight and a breakthrough, true transformation where we peel back everything and stand in the truth of who we are takes time. And it also takes commitment. And sometimes it takes somebody that can't see what we're truly
Mm.
possible of. I always say to clients when they first start working with me, like, borrow my belief in you, borrow what I can see in you, because
Mm.
can see their potential before they even can themselves. So how I work is it's a 12-month container where women come in and they are held through a process as a beautiful community to do the inner work so that the outer manifests.
Mm.
The inner work of what first of all, it's regulating the nervous system. That's the absolute priority, because I see that as foundational. I think I've created my own hierarchy of needs for highly
Mm.
sensitives. I see that as essential. Your nervous system regulation is really important. So how do we get that nervous system regulated? And then how do we build on that self-trust and deep intuition and knowing yourself? How do we build up your self-esteem and your self-worth? And then how do we move into a space of truly embodying this new way of being and this new way of life? Then in the process, discovering their purpose and shifting, I guess, into an identity of the person that can hold that vision that they have. And I love what you said about before about being really present and
Mm.
letting go of the past, being very present. But for me, I'm also, what gets me inspired and motivated is thinking about the future that I am working towards too. So some of my work is around the vision for their future, the dreams that they have, and can they be the woman that can hold that vision?
Mm.
So that's the work I do. I would say it's deep soul work that really helps them get to a place of, this is who I am. This is what I want in life. I know I'm worthy of this, and I'm stepping into that purpose with conviction, with clarity, with courage.
Beautiful. Sorry, excuse me. So do you only work with women? I think you mentioned that a couple of times. Is that
Yes,
interesting?
yeah, I know. And I get asked this. I get asked a lot about this. Yes, I do. I work with highly sensitive women because I know what it's like as a highly sensitive woman, and I feel that the work that I do can really support those women. That's not to say that I'm very like you, that I like to leave people better than I found them. So I love to still have those beautiful conversations with men and women. And I'm certainly open to supporting men as well. But the academy is specifically for highly sensitive women because I've had to walk that walk, and I know what it feels like to be a highly sensitive mum, to be a highly sensitive woman in business, to be a highly sensitive woman as a partner, all of those things. So I feel like I can really speak from my own authentic truth in that space.
I know that's yeah. I mean, I have no issues. It's just interesting. There's a lot of spaces there for women only, and there is space for men, and I just feel as we shift from divine masculine to divine feminine, it's not about shifting from male to female. It's about our masculine. I feel like our masculine energy is shifting in a way that we have more balance, and
Yeah.
the divine masculine is all about egos and putting people on a pedestal. And as we move into divine feminine, it's all about shifting from head to heart. And I feel more and more men asking a different sort of question. So I don't know. I might create something for that space in the future. I haven't really. I just got that message a few times. So I'm just. I felt guided to ask you that question. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you
It's
just
very
don't know.
needed.
Right?
It's
Hmm.
needed in this world. I think men need that safe container
Yeah.
to be able to find that balance within themselves. That's a lot of the work I do is helping women balance masculine and feminine energy within
Yeah.
them, because a lot of women are in very masculine, they're doing, they're constantly working and pushing and
Yeah.
striving. So how does a woman come back into this beautiful balance and harmony? Because if a woman is in her feminine with that masculine energy, yes, because we still like to have drive and ambition.
Mm.
But if we lean more into our, I call it rooted feminine, that impacts our relationships, because that helps a man step up into being who they're here to be, rather
Mm.
than fighting in that relationship. So a lot of the work I do is we look at the masculine and feminine energy, and we also look at the shadow traits of both, and how to really understand them and own them and accept them and move through them and change those patterns, which can often sabotage. They can sabotage our relationships, they can sabotage our work, they can sabotage all kinds of connections. So
Yeah.
that's a big piece of the work that I do with women.
Yeah. I mean, most of my clients are still women. I guess on the spiritual front, that's, but more and more men are coming through. So, if you're a man, listen to this and you want support and my voice resonates, reach out. Because even the membership group I have, again, most are women. It's just, but I do feel there's more of a platform for men to share this. It's just what makes us think man shouldn't cry or show their emotion, and it's like a
Mhm.
beautiful spiritual release, right? It's just, so I love it, and it's interesting you talk about relationships with the people you work with. When I start working with people, I'll always kind of give them I should come with a health warning type conversation, because I know with a lot of the close relationships, one or two things happen. You either start to build a bond with them, which is even deeper, or you start to get distance. And then the way I describe it is, when you work with somebody, you raise their vibration. And
Yeah,
when you raise your vibration, you give others the opportunity around you to do the same,
yeah,
but you can't force them.
absolutely.
So, if you raise your vibration and others around you don't, then you have a choice. You either lower your vibration to be with them or you don't. And it's just a natural consequence, right?
Yeah, and it's so hard though, because I think this is why people stay stuck, because they're
Yeah.
frightened that it's going to bring change and that you're going to have to make
Yeah.
decisions. And
It's
I
safe,
always,
right? Yeah, it's
it's
safe. It's what you're used to. Yeah.
absolutely. And I always say to the women I work with, like, the woman you're becoming, she will lose things. She will lose people. She will lose places. She will lose things. And you've got to have the courage to keep saying no, that, as you say, like, my vibration is higher. So I've got to attract the people that are at the same
Yeah.
vibration. It can be heartbreaking. I've had to make really tough choices around relationships and
Mm,
friendships that are not at that same vibration. And like you say, you've got a choice. Do I lower my vibration to meet them?
yeah.
If you've already given them the opportunity to raise that vibration and they refuse to, sometimes it's that really hard choice, and it's
Yeah.
quite heartbreaking at times. And you go through that grieving process of having to do so. But it is also for our greater good and our growth and
Yeah.
our purpose.
Because it's really interesting. I feel like just about everyone I spoke to over the last few years, our friend circles have naturally gotten smaller. So I feel like I love
Yeah.
the phrase that I don't really feel like we lose people, but people lose. God takes people from our past or source, whatever you want to call it, because He hears the conversations they have about us behind our back.
Mm.
So I feel like people are taking that are not meant to be there, and my friend circle's got much smaller, right? It's
And has.
and I feel like right now we need to, as we enter this new phase, really look at our soul family, right? These are the people that we spend the most time with, and really ask, do these people lift you up? Do they make you feel good, or do they drain you? And I feel like and I'm not saying it's easy, but it gives you an insight into your world, right?
Yeah, I always think that people come into our
Mm.
life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Yeah, I say that
So
all the time. Yeah.
for me, that really helps me let go. If somebody does walk away, it's like, okay, well, that was a reason. What was the reason? Or that was a season of my life, and that has massively helped me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about your spiritual side. Do you feel connected? Do you feel your guides around you? How do you feel like you receive nudges, messages from your guides?
Yeah. So One of the things that I do with women is help them understand what their authentic spirituality is, because I think it's
Mm.
very easy to get misled with what other people are doing in their own
Sure.
spiritual practice. And so a lot of the work that I've done on myself is, what is my authentic spirituality?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the way that somebody else sees spirituality.
100%. Mm.
So for me, spirituality is about me being, coming always back to the higher self, to the self, that the best version of me, the self that comes from love, that comes from joy, that comes from expression and authenticity. So for me, it's a daily practice of connecting to her, connecting to
Mm.
that wiser, most intuitive, soulful woman, rather than the head
Sure.
overthinking and reacting. So I meditate daily. I meditate every morning. I ground myself every day. That I have quite a
Nice.
few rituals, because for me
Mm.
rituals are really powerful, and I teach that in the academy, of the rituals you need to support you to feel spiritually connected and grounded and centered. So that's a really important practice to me. And I also have a I call it kind of like my mastermind board in my mind
Mm.
of people that have greatly influenced me. One of those being Wayne Dyer. Wayne
Nice.
Dyer's work hugely impacted me in my first journey of healing. Read all his books, listened to him all the time. And when he died, I felt like a very clear message that he was still with me, because a butterfly came and
Beautiful.
rested on my
Mm.
knee. In fact, where I went when I was speaking at the event we met at, there was a butterfly in the room.
Yeah.
I was speaking. And so I feel that his wisdom, his guidance is with me. Maya Angelou is another person in my head. So these are the
Beautiful.
people that I consult when I'm struggling or feeling like I need to make a decision. I go inwards and trust my intuition, but I also ask those spirit guides, those light workers, what would you do? What would you teach me? What would you share? So for me, my spirit guides are those people. I also have a spirit power animal as well, which is the hare. And
Nice.
every time I see a hare, that's like my reminder of to stay intuitively guided. Uh, but yeah, I would say it's a daily practice of being very intentional about the way I live. And that's what spirituality feels like for me, just being very grounded, very centered, very rooted, not reactive. Um, Although that obviously that happens sometimes,
Sure.
but
Sure.
trying
We're
to stay
human, right?
connected.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Humans, souls having a human experience.
100%. Yeah. And but that's the thing. We meant to have that human. So it's like, if we want to cry, if we
Yeah,
fall over, it's about how we get up. It's not about falling over.
absolutely.
Sometimes
Absolutely.
people think on the spiritual journey, it's like all of a sudden, everything becomes clear, and we don't, no, we chose to be human. So sometimes that means,
Yeah.
part of my language was sometimes we do dumb shit, but it's actually, what do we learn from doing that dumb shit that it helps us
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
but no, so, when you connect to your guides and when you receive intuitive hits or messages, and do you see things? Do you feel things? Do you hear things? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So for me, I feel my way through life.
Hmm.
It's something that I teach highly sensitive women, because we feel everything so intensely when you're a highly sensitive. And I am guided by my feelings and my intuitive feelings. So I feel my way through life. So I only take, or try to only take, intuitively aligned action. So that's why grounding myself in the morning and asking myself, like, where do I need to go? What do I need to do? What do I
Hmm.
need to hear? What do I need to say? And letting the voice of intuition guide me, rather than me reacting and thinking, right, I must do this and I have to be there and I have to be there. And it's always coming back to that intuitive voice. So that for me is a big guidance, is feeling my way through life. And I get a lot of visualizations. So
Hmm.
I part of my meditation practice is to visualize, and I always seem to know from my visualizations what I need to be doing, or how I need to be doing something
Beautiful.
in order for it
Mm.
to happen. So that for me is really powerful too.
No, I love it. I love it. So if someone's listened to this and they feel they're highly sensitive, or maybe they're struggling to be highly sensitive and, kind of struggling to be in this world, what would your advice for them to them be?
Ooh, to read my book.
Sure. But some practical steps that come from without reading the book. And we'll come on to your new book in a second. I love it.
Yeah, sorry, I was just joking.
No. Well, please do read your book too, but I'm just curious.
Well, my book is for highly sensitive women.
Nice.
I would say that the first thing they need to do is to allow themselves to choose themselves, to gift themselves some space and time without anyone else around, without anybody else demanding your time and energy or telling you what to do or who to be. And gift yourself just a precious hour or a couple of hours, and maybe just go for a walk in nature or take yourself away somewhere and write about, who am I? What do I really want? I think self-awareness is the most powerful catalyst for change, but you have to allow yourself that space. And my journey started of allowing myself 45 minutes. And I remember I'd been gifted a massage, and I
Nice.
lay on this massage table, and it was the first time ever that I'd actually prioritized me, because everything was
Wow.
about the babies and the perfect house and my partner and the friendships. And this 45 minutes, I lay there and I could not do anything but lie there. And in that space, in that 45 minutes, I started to hear the whisper
Mm.
of, Sarah, there is more for you. Sarah, you're not truly happy. Sarah, slow down. Sarah, what do you really want? So I would say that to gift themselves some time to choose themselves and take that time out and ask themselves those important questions. Because if you ask yourself important questions, you will get important answers. And then you've got
Beautiful.
to find the courage to act on those
Mm.
answers.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think that's good advice for anyone, male, female, highly sensitive, or whatever. Giving time for yourself, and you know, um, I'll always recommend time in nature, time for you, because you've got to take time to get to know this version of you, right? Life
Yeah.
is so busy, and if you don't. By the way, when you mentioned massage, I was like, oh yeah, I've not taken time out and had a massage for me for a while, so that's my message. That's a good reminder to me too. I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I need to take time out to get a massage. So, but thank you for that. So yeah, moving on to your book. So, for full disclosure, we are recording this like a month before your book's going to be released. But actually, I plan to release this episode on the day your book comes out. So, and I know you're not meant to announce or share the name of the book, but because it's coming out on the day I release this episode, tell us about the journey of your book, and I'd love to know the name, the reveal.
This is great because I can actually say it.
I love it. I
It
love it.
feels really
Exclusive.
great.
Yeah, I love it.
So the book is called Dare to Choose You.
Beautiful.
And the tagline is the 7 principles to help a highly sensitive woman step into the vibrant, purposeful life. So for me, it was the 7 principles that I started to see. Actually, let's take that back. It was 7 patterns that I
Mm,
started to see happened in my life, and I had to work out how to change it, how to overcome these things. One of which was self-pity, another
mm,
is self-sabotage, another is self-sacrifice. And I started to see patterns in my own life. And then I was trained as a coach 13 years ago as a traditional life coach. And every woman that was coming to me, I saw the same 7 patterns.
mm.
And for me, that, again, asking my guides as well, it felt like a huge download of, Sarah, this is what you're here to teach. And I remember saying, I can't do that. I can't tell women that you're self-abusing, you're self-sacrificing, you're self-sabotaging. It felt scary to open their eyes to what these 7 patterns were. But my work over the years has transformed women's lives because I've shared these and also empowered them to change that story. So this book has been birthed through that journey. And it's always been a dream of mine since being a little girl to write a book. I write poetry. I've always wanted to be an author. So this is quite an emotional journey for me of sharing parts of my story, yes, in the book, but the book mainly is there to help women, highly sensitive women, understand what it's like to be a highly sensitive and how to empower themselves as a highly sensitive in this world through those 7 principles that I take them through in the book.
I love it. So thank you for revealing the name. I feel so blessed. I love it. And I'm curious, do you feel the steps for men would be different?
No.
Yeah, because when you were talking, I'm like, that feels universal to me. So
Yeah, I think
yeah,
these are 7 patterns that many find themselves in, but especially if you're a highly sensitive man or woman, or you're a very sensitive, empathic soul, these are the 7 patterns that I've seen. I've seen in that I've been in relationships
yeah,
with. I've seen in men that I'm friends with. So no, I would say these are universal patterns. Yeah.
yeah. Kind of because I kind of feel like most people that listen to the podcast are probably sensitive.
Yeah.
You know, highly sensitive is obviously a it's the journey we go on and kind of however sensitive we feel, etc. But I do feel, you know, you kind of the advice and what you give, I feel like it's universal. I don't feel like it's just. I just wanted to mention that, and I'm sure I kind of knew that you'd agree that it's for men and women, right? It's that,
Yes.
you know, it's just it's such an interesting journey we're on, right? So,
Yes, absolutely. Well, we are 30% of the population as well. So,
mm,
like you say, there's probably a lot of your listeners will identify
yeah,
with that. And I think when you open yourselves up as well, you become more sensitive because you're not
yeah,
suppressing your emotions anymore and you're not hiding from them. You're having the courage to be vulnerable enough to own those emotions. So you naturally feel more sensitive. But
yeah,
being a highly sensitive is actually an innate trait
yeah.
um, that impacts around 30% of the population. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, you know, kind of with all the energetic shift, if that 30% is not actually not higher.
It wouldn't
You know,
surprise me. Many years ago, they said 15 to 20%. Now,
yeah,
recently, they've said 30%. It would not surprise me. The more awakening that happens, the more consciousness moves as a collective energy, it would not surprise me in the slightest.
you know, maybe this is just a heads up for you as well. But I find that I've worked with quite a few clients, and actually, again, mainly women, but who, when they released a book, it was kind of the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one. So I'm just curious, how do you feel? Because, as you said,
Yeah.
it was one of your dreams, but it's that for you. I feel like it is the end of a cycle. It's kind of like letting go of that version of you that had to work so hard to be this version. And I feel like
Yeah.
this book is a symbol for that journey.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you've sensed that. For me, it has been a very full circle moment. And because I share parts of how I was raised and around my parents and some of the journey over the years, it has been quite an emotional healing journey to write. And it also, I needed to do a full circle moment. So I
Mm.
actually went down, it was a few weeks ago, I went to actually where they live, which is 4 hours drive from where I am now, and went to all the places, even drove past their home. I can't go and knock on the door, I can't speak to
Oh.
them.
Mm.
I went to do that as a full circle because the book's written and I needed to almost complete that circle and let go. And even though I've let go, it was just this kind of,
There's layers to it. Yeah. There's
it's
layers.
an
Mm.
energetic letting go of, it's done. The book is done. I've spoke my truth. I had the courage to speak my truth. And yeah, it's absolutely a huge circle. And for me, it is just the start of many books. You know,
Yeah.
I've got 4 or 5 other books in me, and that it's given me the enthusiasm and the passion to write even more around other areas of our life and how we can change.
Yeah, and that's it's interesting you went back to kind of, I guess, where a lot of things started. I do feel like that's a useful thing to do. I mean, I I was a refugee from Uganda at 3 years old. I
Mm.
actually have never really felt the call to go to Uganda, but as I got siblings who are really keen, so we might go next year. But the first home we had was in Cleveland and Teesside, and yeah, kind of I've always had got memories and visuals. So a few years back, I went, and it was just interesting. It wasn't you know, lots of things happened in terms of when you were refugees and stuff, but it is nice to do that, just to close the cycle.
Yeah,
And just to feel energetically that version of you is, because you got to celebrate that version of you too, right? She fought so hard for to be here, and
yeah.
you know, celebrate her, but do let her go. Let him go. I feel like that's a great way of doing that, right? Just walking down memory lane, but not holding on to it and just letting it go.
Yeah, and it's really interesting there because lots of people advise me against it. There were a
Mm,
lot like, well, don't do it. It's going to be too emotional. You're going to get too upset. And why do that? And I remember doing a live on my social media after saying, this is what I've
mm.
done. People said, well, why did you even do that? And so I had to explain, like, not that you have to explain, but I wanted to explain that for me, energetically, that was a really important choice to make. And this is where I trust my intuition. Like I knew
Yeah.
intuitively that was the right thing for me to do. And even though it was emotional, it's really helped complete the circle for
And
me.
it's all on your intention. If your intention is, I need to go and see people, and that's not really what it's about. If your intention is to release and just heal and get emotional, what's wrong with getting emotional? I mean,
Absolutely.
it's just
Yeah.
it's just another layer of healing. I'll share a story. When we went back, one of my first memories is, because I've got a large family, 4 brothers, 4 sisters, one younger sister, everyone else is older. So my first memory, because there's so many of us, when we were refugees, they gave us 2 houses, and I remember a big field in between the 2 houses. So I remember running across this field, holding my brother's hand, and we were kind of, and when we went to visit, that big field I thought was a big field was actually a little small roundabout. There's me thinking, the memory was like, oh, this big field and this openness as a child, and go and have a look at this little roundabout. Like, oh, okay, all right, well, the crowd was having fun. It's all good, but yeah, it was like, okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's all part of it. So as we start to close out this episode, I'd love to ask if you had any final bits of advice that are in your heart for people kind of on this journey that are trying to figure out who they are. What would your
Yeah.
advice be?
To trust that nudge, that it's too easy to stay feeling, they think they're feeling safe, but actually it's not safety. Um, I always share that we're either surviving or we're settling, or we can begin to soar.
Mm,
And too many of us choose to survive. And actually, the cage has the door wide open. And I wish somebody had taught me that years and years ago, that I always thought I was stuck. But you're never stuck unless you think you are, no matter what the circumstances. And
yeah.
life has created many, many challenging circumstances for me, but you're never stuck unless you think you are. The power of your mind and your heart and your soul, if you align that and you learn how to co-create your existence with source, will change your life forever. So
Mm,
to trust that if they are unhappy or they're surviving or they know they're settling, that yes, there is something more. And to trust
beautiful.
that call and to
Mm,
trust that calling, and that if you will do that, you will be rewarded. Your courage in doing so is bravely rewarded by the universe.
yeah, because I always kind of use the phrase that your story is your teacher, not your cage.
Yeah, 100%.
Because sometimes we use it as I've always been this way. I'm always, and your story doesn't define who you are. It's how you respond to your story, right? So I
Yeah.
love that. I love that, and so I'll include the link on for your book in the show notes and all the links to you, etc. But Want to confirm your book's available in all countries today when we release?
Oh, you know what? That's a good question. I know it's going to be available on Amazon, so
Oh,
I'm
so then it's all countries. Yeah, then it's all countries. Yeah,
presuming
it's
it's
fine.
your countries.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
we'll include the link. Yeah, so I'll include the link for the UK and the US. But I'm sure if you search on Amazon in any of the country, it'll be available. So,
amazing.
but yeah, what's the best way for people to reach out to you? I mean, obviously, I include the links. But if people want to find out more about Sarah, where's the
Yeah.
best place to find?
I tend to hang out most on Instagram because I love Instagram. I love the creativity of Instagram. So
Nice.
you can find me on Instagram at I am Sarah Seed. Also, I do have my own website, sarahseed.com, or Facebook too. But yeah, come and connect with me on Instagram. I do love Instagram.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing your light. Thank you for revealing the name of your book. I'm excited to share it with the world, and yeah, sending everyone so much love and light. You know, if you are going through something, know that you're meant to be here. You're loved, you're held, you're supported. And Sarah, again, thank you very much for being here. And we
Thank you
will be
for
back.
Thank
You're
you.
very welcome. Sending everyone so much love and light. We'll be back soon. Bye for now.